Itagat kogeny ko yekitestai kokakitokchigei nguno bunge notok nebo Senate ole mitei taitab bunge noto minister noto nebo ripsetab kalyet eng emet orit Kipchumba Murkomen kokitepse inendet ole walu tebutik otinygei ak ripsetab kalyet.
And you know the speaker has a leeway to increase the time once it gets to 1 o'clock. So we'll see how well the cabinet secretary is doing in terms of his response, okay? Senator Hamida.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I also have 3 questions, Bwana Waziri. One, Bwana Waziri, could the cabinet secretary explain the deteriorating condition of Nyayo House in Nairobi's Central Business District? Which houses the State Department for Immigration and Citizen Services, and indicate whether there are immediate plans to renovate it to ensure efficiency delivery of service to Kenyans. Number 2, what measures have the government put in place to ensure that both the public and government officials working at Nyayo House have access to adequate facilities, including clean water, sanitary amenities, and a conducive working environment? The last one, Bwana Waziri, could the cabinet secretary also confirm whether there's budgetary allocation for the renovation of Nyayo House in the 2024-2025 financial year, and if so, state the amount? Thank you.
Next question by Senator Joe Nyutu on behalf of Senator Kirinyaga County.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I stand in for Senator Murango of Kirinyaga County, and I have the following questions to the CS. One, could the CS state the immediate actions taken to address the increase in incidents of insecurity in Kirinyaga County, particularly in Kerugoya Town, where 2 people have been killed by criminals in the last 1 month, and in Gruvani Town, where marauding gangs have been waylaying residents early in the morning and late in the evening? And number 2, Mr. Speaker, what is the status of investigations into an attempted robbery with violence incident in Meringaire area in Kerugoya Town on the night of 24th January 2025, in which Mr. Murimi was shot and later succumbed to injuries while undergoing treatment at Kerugoya County Referral Hospital? And could the Cabinet Secretary clarify the timelines within which police officers should investigate incidents of crime such as this? Number C, Mr. Speaker, what long-term plans does the ministry have to curb insecurity in Kerugoya Town and its environs? And finally, could the Cabinet Secretary also state the number of police officers who have served in one station within Kirinyaga County for more than 3 years, and state when those officers were transferred? I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Senator. And the last question by Senator of Tana River, Senator Danson Mugatana.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise to ask question number 20. Why have the killers of Mr. Isaac Jarso, a resident of Kone village in Tana River County, who was killed by suspected KWS officers on the 29th December 2024, not yet arrested? B, when will the killers be arrested, given that a similar incident happened in Nakuru County on the 18th January 2005, and within hours, arrests of the suspected KWS officers was made? C, could the Cabinet Secretary explain why the Directorate of Criminal Investigation, DCI officers, are yet to make arrests when the suspects are known KWS officers? And finally, when will the family of the late Mr. Jarso be compensated following his unfortunate death? I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you very much, Senator. Cabinet Secretary, you may respond.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. I will run through the questions in the order of that was presented to us. First, Mr. Speaker, is the question 003 by Senator Marsabit. I'll jump a number of things there to save time, which are necessary, introductions which are necessary. And straight to the point that, Mr. Speaker, on part 1, which is the number of IDPs, between 2017 and 2022, sporadic ethnic, social, political skirmishes resulted in the displacement of people in various parts of Marsabit County. On record, we have 528 households whose houses were vandalized and 135 houses burned as follows. The list is provided, Mr. Speaker, with villages provided for the sublocation. And maybe just to mention the sublocation, in Jirimbe sublocation we have 12 households, in Milima Tatu 18, in Mataharba 33, in Kilta 35, all totaling in different villages as provided for, and I'm sure the advanced copy was shared. It's a total of 528 households, Mr. Speaker, and the burned houses are 135, and Mr. Speaker, the list is provided. Honorable Speaker, on question 2, the government has been distributing relief food to the affected households. In addition, there has been allocation of bursaries to the affected children. On the terms of compensating the IDPs and when they will be paid, most of the IDPs, Mr. Speaker, have returned to their original manyatas. Manyata Daba, Sales, Wako, Konso, Banjale, Isakon Umuro, and Gabra scheme. To ensure their safety and security, police posts have been established in the area. SACU CDF has put up a police post at Manyata Daba awaiting deployment of security officers. National Police Reservists have been deployed across the hotspots, and Mr. Speaker, peace dialogue has and dialogues have been conducted across the county, and peace structure committees are operational. There is enhanced intelligence gathering, and there is frequent public barazas being conducted in the area. Honorable Speaker, in the absence of budgetary allocation in my ministry to facilitate compensation for IDPs, the county resettlement committee is engaging the IDPs to voluntarily return to their manyatas. This has become possible since the security situation has stabilized. The government commits to ensuring that upon return of the displaced persons, adequate provisions is made to provide them with food and non-food items. Mr. Speaker, on question number 006 by nominated Senator Honorable Ameida Kibwana, Mr. Speaker, on part 1, which is the deteriorating situation of the Nyayo House, I would like to respond as follows. Nyayo House was commissioned around 42 years ago and currently accommodates over 58 national and county government departments, which offer different services to the citizens, especially immigration services. Previously, the ministry engaged the State Department of Public Works to assess the necessary maintenance works of Nyayo House, and they gave the ministry a bill of quantities amounting to 244 million shillings, 831 and 831,860 shillings, funds which the ministry does not have at the moment. The refurbishment will cover internal and external painting, electrical and mechanical works, including the lifts, Mr. Speaker, which are actually performing very poorly. The State Department of Immigration and Citizen Services occupies the majority of the floors in Nyayo House. All these floors currently occupied by the State Department are being refurbished to ensure efficient service delivery and a conducive working environment for both the staff and the clients. The floors that accommodate the Principal Secretary's office and on 23rd floor, the Director of E-Citizen Services on 23rd, 22nd and 17th floors have all been renovated and refurbished with modern furnishing and IT infrastructure. The service lobby on the ground floor, where the Directorate of Immigration and Citizen Services carries out passport application and issuance, was fully renovated and expanded to accommodate our targeted clientele. Plans are underway to renovate offices on 3rd, 4th, and 8th floors and refurbish all the washrooms and all floors that are occupied by State Department of Immigration and Citizen Services. On part 2, on the measures put in place to ensure both public and government officials working there have clean water, sanitary amenities, and conducive working environment, I'd like to respond as follows, Mr. Speaker. The government has ensured an uninterrupted clean water supply, which runs throughout the week from the Nairobi City's county. Nyaya House also has reserve tanks on the rooftop of the building in case we experience water supply shortages. The State Department of Immigration and Citizen Services has also outsourced cleaning services. On whether there is a budgetary allocation for the renovation in 2024-2025, Mr. Speaker, I wish to state that the State Department for Immigration and Citizen Services was allocated 70 million shillings in the financial year 2024-2025 budget for the renovation and refurbishment of our offices at the Nyaya House. However, due to the ongoing austerity measures, the National Treasury reallocated the funds. We do hope that the National Treasury will disperse the funds to allow the completion of the budgeted renovations. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On question 012 by Senator James Murango of Kirinyaga County, Mr. Speaker, we have a very detailed response, but I'll try to summarize. Mr. Speaker, regarding the immediate actions that have been taken by the National Police Service to address increasing incidents of insecurity in Kirinyaga County, particularly in Kerukoya town, I'd like to respond as follows. In January 2025, several security incidents were reported in Kerugoya and Gurubani towns within Kirinyaga County. Consequently, the following immediate measures were undertaken to arrest the situation. 1, increased patrols and rapid responses. The National Police Service intensified both foot and mobile patrols in Kerugoya town and its environs, focusing on early morning and late evening hours when incidents were more frequent. 2, special operations. The National Police Service organized continuous special operation to get rid of the criminals. 3, public sensitization. Regular public security meetings were conducted to inform the residents about emerging crime trends and preventive measures. 4, stakeholder partnership. Collaboration was strengthened with community policing groups, Nyumba Kumi initiatives, and private security firms to facilitate information sharing for effective security management. 5, multi-agency coordination. Law enforcement worked closely with the national government administration, officers, other security agencies, and public to build confidence in security efforts. 6, targeted investigations. Specialized units were deployed to conduct thorough investigations leading to the arrest and prosecution of criminals. On the status of investigation to an attempted robbery with violence incident in Miringi Lira area in Kerukoya town, and the death of one Mr. Murimi who was shot in the incident, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to respond as follows. On 24th of January 2025 at around 9:30 p.m., Gladys Nyambura Njuki, an M-Pesa shop operator in Kerukoya town, closed her business and boarded a motorcycle registration number provided ridden by Eric Minor to her residence in Mudhaika area. Before reaching her destination, they were intercepted by assailants using 2 numberless motorcycles, each carrying a pillion passenger and armed with a pistol. The criminals confronted the complainant, brandishing pistols, and forcibly snatched her handbag while demanding money. Upon hearing a distress call, a resident, Mr. Peter Karimi Kamau, aged 44 years, responded in an attempt to assist. Unfortunately, one of the robbers shot him. They also fired 2 shots into the air to disperse bystanders before fleeing the scene on their motorcycles. Police officers arrived promptly, but criminals had already escaped. At the scene, the police officers recovered 2 spent cartridges and 5 rounds of ammunition. The injured victim was rushed to Kerukoya County Referral Hospital for treatment. Unfortunately, Mr. Speaker, he succumbed to these injuries the following day, on 25th January 2025. A post-mortem was done and confirmed that he had suffered a fatal gunshot wound to the abdomen. Investigation commenced under the offense of robbery with violence, contrary to Section 2962 of the Penal Code, and the reference is provided. Forensic done at the DCI headquarters by conducting ballistic examination on 2 spent cartridges recovered at the scene of crime, established that the firearm used in this incident had also been linked to the separate robbery with violence case in DCI Ruiru. Mr. Speaker, as now the suspect remains at large and the case is still under active investigation to apprehend those who are responsible. regarding the long-term plans by the National Police Service to curb insecurity in Kerugoya town and its environs, Mr. Speaker, the government is committed to implementing long-term measures to enhance security and maintain law and order in Kerugoya town and its surrounding areas. The following strategies aim to provide sustainable solutions to crime and insecurity: strengthening the community policing and Nyumba Kumi initiative, increasing, and the more details are provided for in the statement, increasing police presence and patrols, use of technology of crime prevention, especially CCTV cameras, and use of the toll-free emergency number, Fichua kwa DCI, capacity building and training of officers. We provide continuous training for the officers on modern crime-fighting techniques, intelligence gathering, and human rights practices, among others. Number 5, addressing socioeconomic drivers of crime. We would like to collaborate with the local community organization to provide social programs aimed at reducing criminal behavior, improve the legal and judicial processes to enhance collaboration between the police and judiciary to ensure that these cases are handled swiftly, enhance intelligence and surveillance operations in the area, strengthening public-private partnership in security, working together with the private firms and the community, and finally periodic security audits and stakeholder engagement to ensure that we deal with these threats. On the list of police officers who have served in Kirinyaga County over 3 years and their transfer status, Honorable Speaker, the Service Standing Orders SSO Cap 72 govern the transfer and deployment of police officers. As stipulated, the mandate for deployment lies with the Inspector General and is not used as a disciplinary measure or reward. Mr. Speaker, additionally, in line with the Maraga Task Force recommendations, officers should not serve in a single station for more than 3 years to enhance their professionalism, mitigate corruption, and ensure optimal service delivery. However, exceptional circumstances allow certain officers to remain in one station beyond this period, including those with medical conditions requiring family support, officers are undergoing disciplinary proceedings, and those nearing retirement who wish to serve closer home. In this regard, we have a total of 30 police officers who have served for more than 3 years in Kerugoya town. Mr. Speaker, on question number 020 by Senator of Tana River County, Honorable Danson Mukatana, on matter of Mr. Isaac Jarso, Mr. Speaker, I wish to respond as follows. On part 1 of the question, Mr. Speaker, which is the why the killers have not been arrested, I'd like to respond as follows. On 29th of December 2024, at approximately 10:30 hours, a contingent of 23 Kenya Wildlife Service Ranger embarked on an operation to remove cattle and herders who had allegedly settled inside Savo East National Park. During the operation, the Rangers encountered Isaac Abdullah Jarso, now deceased, his family and his friends at his Manyata. When the Rangers attempted to arrest the deceased, an altercation ensued, escalating into a physical confrontation, pitting him and his friends against the Rangers. The scuffles resulted in the fatal shoot of Isaac Abdullah Jarso. At 10:45 hours, Mr. Said Omar, Assistant Chief of Kone Sublocation, reported the incident at Garsen Police Station under OB number provided. Officers from Kone Police Post responded promptly and arrived at the scene, where they found the lifeless body of Isaac Abdullah Jarso, a 42-year-old male. The body had gunshot wounds on the upper right thigh. Investigations commenced under inquiry number 4 of 2024 of DCI Delta, with officers documenting evidence at the scene and recovering 4 spent cartridges. The body was moved to Malindi Sub-County Hospital mortuary for preservation, where a postmortem examination conducted, confirming that the cause of death was due to gunshot-inflicted injuries. As part of the investigation, statements were recorded from the key witnesses, including the deceased wife, 2 friends who were with him at the time of the incident, and 2 brothers who arrived after being alerted about the shooting. Additionally, statements were taken from KWS Rangers involved in the operation. To facilitate forensic analysis, all 23 rifles used by the Rangers during the operation were collected unescorted to the forensic laboratory in Nairobi for ballistic examination. The ballistic expert report is yet to be finalized. Once the investigations are concluded, the action will be taken against the KWS officers found culpable in the fatal shooting. Mr. Speaker, regarding when the killers will be arrested, given that similar incident happened in Nakuru, Mr. Speaker, as I said, investigations commenced immediately, and the inquiry was forwarded to the DPP via that several additional matters be established through further investigation, including firearm ballistic report. As stated earlier, appropriate action will be taken against the officers found culpable. On number 3, only why the DCI officers yet to make arrest. Again, Mr. Speaker, the matter is still under active investigation by the DCI, and once concluded, appropriate action will be taken against anyone found culpable of the offense. Every effort is being made to expedite and conclude the investigation to ensure justice is served. Mr. Speaker, regarding when the family of Mr. Jaso will be compensated, Mr. Speaker, compensation for the family for the late Isaac Abdullah Jaso will be subjected to due process depending on the outcome of the investigations. Mr. Speaker, on question number 5 by Honorable Beatrice Ogola, I wish to respond as follows. On part 1, on the level of preparedness on the mitigation of drought and floods, Mr. Speaker, the prolonged 2024 rains resulted in flooding that impacted most parts of the country. A total of 315 people died due to the floods. 58,641 households, representing 293,205 individuals were displaced, and 412,262 persons were affected. The flooding caused havoc to roads, bridges, aerodromes, railways, railway lines, school infrastructure, and health facilities. 298,673 acres of agricultural land and 9,367 livestock were washed away. The government and partners supported the affected population with the evacuations and provision of shelter. Cut-off roads and railway lines were reopened. Further, the government distributed 3,798.1 metric tons of relief and other non-food items to affected population. Arising out of this experience, the government has strengthened early warning systems and disaster preparedness for anticipated flood risks. The government will issue timely alerts besides mobilizing emergency response efforts and awareness creation. The government is investing in climate resilient infrastructure, flood control measures, and disaster mitigation strategies to reduce vulnerability. This includes improving drainage systems in towns and cities. Number 2, on the specific areas that are particularly been mapped out, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to say as follows. 3 months weather forecast issued by Kenya Meteorological Department on March, April, and May indicates near to above normal rains for the western part of the country, below normal for the rest of the country. There is therefore likelihood of floods in only 3 counties, Kisumu, Busia, and Tana River. The government has employed the flooding strategies, among others, to mitigate against possible floods. Following strategies, among others, to mitigate against the possible floods. 1, promoting reforestation and soil conservation. 2, rehabilitation of roads. 3, acquisition of food and non-food items in preparedness for that season. 4, mobilizing emergency response efforts. 5, awareness creation among the stakeholders and members of the public. 6, improving drainage systems in towns. 7, developing and regularly updating emergency response to ensure swift and effective actions in event of flooding, including protocols of evacuation in event of flooding. Number 8, fostering collaboration among stakeholders to develop coordinated response to flooding incidents. Finally, Mr. Speaker, on that question, on how much has been set aside for 2024-2025, I'd like to say in the current financial year, the Minister has set aside 40 million for disaster and emergency response. This notwithstanding, the government will mobilize more resources should there be need to do so. Finally, Mr. Speaker, on question number 6, I hope it's finally, yes. By Senator of Turkana, Senator James Lomenen, I'd like to respond as follows. On part 1, regarding the measures in place to mitigate persistent livestock theft and banditry that are plagued Turkana County for decades. Mr. Speaker, the government is committed to addressing the historical challenges of livestock theft and banditry in Turkana County and other regions by implementing several measures. The measures include enhanced security deployment. Mr. Speaker, there is an increased presence now of through specialized units such as anti-stock theft, rapid deployment unit, and general service unit to deter criminal activities. B, strengthening border security, increased patrol along porous border with neighbor countries to prevent cross-border raids and smuggling of stolen livestock. C, strengthening the inter-county and cross-border collaborations, particularly with neighboring counties and countries to prevent movement of stolen livestock and spread conflict across borders. D, recruitment of training and equipping of national police reservists drawn from local communities to complement police efforts in intelligence gathering and security patrols. 5, strict legal action and prosecution of perpetrators. We're working closely with the Office of DPP and the judiciary to ensure swift prosecution of arrested bandits. And 6, disarmament of, or F, disarmament of weapon recovery. There are ongoing efforts to recover illegal firearms through voluntary surrender program and targeted security operations. Mr. Speaker, on part 2, on the different strategies put in place to elevate the unchecked rates that have exacerbated poverty and insecurity in the region, where, Mr. Speaker, I would like to respond as follows. The government has implemented multifaceted approach to address the persistent rates in the region by continuously assessing and adopting strategies to effectively tackle insecurity and restore sustainable peace and development in the region. They include community policing and intelligence gathering, Mr. Speaker, 2, interagency collaboration with KDF, Ngao, police working together. 3, marking and digitization of livestock identification. In some parts, we have already introduced the livestock branding, microchipping, and digital database to facilitate tracing and recovery of stolen animals. 4, engagement of peace committees and elders, strengthening peace dialogues with community elders, religious leaders, and local administrators to promote conflict resolution, discourage territorial attacks, and foster long-term reconciliation among warring communities. 5, continuous training and capacity building of the National Police Service and the NPRs, Mr. Speaker, to ensure that they can respond effectively. And 6, purchase and distribution of new equipment for use by the security personnel, such as drones, mine-resistant and ambush-protected vehicles. Mr. Speaker, on part 3, on whether the government can consider adoption of implementation of modern technology, I'd like to respond as follows, Mr. Speaker. The National Police Service established a committee to oversee the implementation of GIS-based livestock tracking system in collaboration with the consultancy firm, Jibu Cyber Solutions, which was engaged to develop necessary software and infrastructure for livestock registration, movement tracking, and ownership verification. The system has been proposed for rollout in 3 counties in the Rift Valley and 4 counties in the Eastern region. The process has reached the advanced stage with public participation.